Hello everyone. The webinar today is devoted to updates we launched in Odus in some past time. And the structure of this webinar will be as following. I will build some conversation in the Dialog builder together with you, so you will follow in how I do this. And I will also explain you some updates and some features you can use building a bot in our service. I will remind you that this is how the platform works. So using our platform, you can create your scripts visually using the very intuitive Dialog builder. Actually, Dialog builder is constructed as Lego, where you can build a bot using different blocks. Then you add necessary features from the catalog. So, for example, you can add new empty models there. And then you configure your bot, connecting different channels to it. And since we launched analytics, you can launch your bot and analyze data. So this is the structure of the webinar, how I will use it. So I will explain you some major features, and the biggest part of my attention today will be devoted to the Dialog builder. And as a bonus, I will remind you about some useful features about forms and live chat. So let's start. I move to the platform, and I have already created, so you see I have some bots here, and I have already created a bot, like it's a new and completely empty bot where I will build the conversation together with you. And one of the newest features we have launched is the avatar. You see I have already uploaded a picture here. So when you create a bot, you just press plus to create the bot, and then you press these 3 points and choose avatar. So when you launch it, you can choose a picture, and the size of this picture must be less than 150 kilobytes. And then you adjust the size of the picture. I mean, it must be square, so you choose the rear of the picture you want to see as an avatar, and then you upload it, and then your bot looks like this. I have a notes about this in my presentation, so about size, and I have also the identification that the avatar goes to your main page, landing page, and widget. When I say main page, I mean this, so you can see avatar here, in a landing page and in a widget. So I go inside the bot and I start creating a bot. Today our bot will be devoted to finance, and actually let's rename it and call it finance bot. Okay. So today we will build a small and very short bot that is devoted to credit cards and debit cards. And that's why when we start building a bot, we start doing this with constants. Constants are messages that are used by default, and here you can see the definition. You have only one welcome message that appears first when your user opens the chat window. And you have also 3 options for unexpected messages. If you forget something about these constants, you can read it here. So that's why when I start building a bot, I always start doing my job, doing my stuff consequently from the first field in this menu to the second one, to the third one, and later. So I will start building a bot with filling up constants, and so I start by typing like hello, let's say I'm Steven, your virtual banking assistant. Ask me about issuing a new card, and I will help you. I press save, and here I'm done. So then I fill up unexpected messages here. Unexpected messages are used when a bot doesn't understand the user. And the bot gives the user 3 attempts to ask again. And in the third attempt, if the third attempt is unsuccessful, then the bot switches the user to the leave operator automatically. That's why I think it's very useful to remind the user about this, because one of the most popular questions we receive, like, why did my bot stop working? Hey, your bot didn't stop working. That's our answer, because when we check the bot, we see that just the fact that the bot stopped understanding the user and the user was switched to the leave operator and nobody answered there. That's why it's very important to remind the user here that he or she will be switched to a leave operator. So I'm writing exactly this here. And as a function, I add switch to a leave operator. Then I press save. So I'm done. I want to pay your attention that we have launched the voice messages and the connection VoIP as a channel. That's why here you can see that your bot can be actually a voice bot. So you can upload voice messages that were recorded in advance from your laptop. And then instead of writing, you can use audio messages. Otherwise, if you connect your phone number to a bot and you still want to be your bot to be a voice bot, then and you still type the text, then we will use Google Speech Kit to make your text messages voice messages. So I'm done with this first part, and then I move to the second part and the most important part of our menu, Dialog Builder. So I want to remind you that Dialog Builder is the empty field that has several blocks you can use to build your bot. And the first thing I want to explain you and I want to show you maybe building a bot is multi-indents. Multi-indents is a new block we introduced in the Dialog Builder, and a multi-intent actually is an intent that can summarize 2 or more meanings so that your bot can give a more precise answer to the user's request. So when you build a bot, you can find multi-intents here, and multi-intents can actually be both key intents and ordinary intents. And actually, I want also to remind you that if you forgot something or if you have a question, you can always consult our Odus Academy. We have a very big article about multi-intents together with a video, so you can go there and you can read and see how to use it. Yeah. So I start building my bot, and the first thing I start with is a key intent. So I will call this key intent initial request, and it will be how my user who enters the bot for the first time asks the bot to provide him or her an information about the card. So I write down here 5 possible questions a user can ask the bot. For example, I want a card. How can I have a card? So let's say, let's order a card. Tell me about a card. I need a credit card. Let's say debit card, for example. I don't know, credit card. Let it be. We strongly advise you to use at least 5 questions when you build intents so that your bots would be trained successfully. If you have less than 5 questions in your intents, anyway, when you start training the bot, you will get a notification that you need to complete all the questions till there are 5 of them in each intent. Yes, we have this kind of check because we want to provide you the better training for your boards. So yeah, I press save and actually I'm done with this request. But what I want to say here, that my next step is to build the next block. And here I want to show you how to use forms in a rather unusual way, rather than just to collect our information about an order, for example, and to send to company's email. I have also a slide here, and my presentation is an essential part of this webinar, so we will send you or maybe upload this presentation later. And actually, this is exactly the reminder I wanted to say about forms. You can use forms not only to collect leads from your customers in the end of the conversation, but also you can use forms as a part of the dialogue, as a part of the answer, to collect a short code and to move your client to the next intent wisely. So for example, I create here a form that is called name. I want to collect my user's name. And then I asked my user, I want to collect the full name, because since I'm creating a board for finance and I assume that I'm working in a bank, I asked my user the name and the surname so that I can check the user in the database later, for example, and to see if this user is a new client or a client who just comes back to the bank and asks for a service again. That's why I ask I assign to this data the shortcode full name, and then when the user answers this question, I reply. And this is actually the option to use the form as a part of the dialogue. In this final message, I ask the user a question that follows him to the next block in this dialogue. For example, I ask him, are you interested in a credit or debit card? And actually, using the form in this way, I can use it without integration. I just press save, and so I'm done. And I proceed to the following intent. And then, for example, the user answers like, I don't know, I want a credit card. Yes, I want a card. Let's say, yep, give me a card. I order a debit card. What cards do you have? I call this intent, for example, let's say credit, debit. Cards do you have? Save. Let me just correct a bit the question here. Are you interested? I will ask like this: to learn about our cards. I can tell you about them. Yes, let's say, tell me, give me a card, I want a credit card. Okay, let it be like this. I want to know about cards. Okay. Then the next block in my dialog builder, in my conversation, will be the answer of the bot. And here I want to show you how to use answers since we have a lot of updates in this field. So let me tell you, first I will show you some presentation slides. First, I want to say that we introduced a new option to edit answers, so that when you assign different text to your answer, you can edit your text inside the answer. So you can just delete text you chose and then choose them again. We didn't have this option before, now it is available for you. Then also, since we introduced VoIP as a channel, voice as a channel, we have an option to connect voice messages as an answer. So what I mean is that you can assign your voice files recorded in advance to your answers. Instead of text, you just upload an audio file from your computer, and then in this case, if your client calls to your phone, then he or she will listen to this audio message. And also, if you connected voice as a channel to your bot, and you bought a number that has an option to send SMS, then you can send SMS to your clients. The next feature we introduced. Okay, let me tell you about all features and then I proceed with a bot. So we introduced cloning, not a bot, but a block inside the bot. So what does it mean? That instead of typing information, typing text inside your blocks again and again, you can just copy them inside one conversation. And the major rules here are that two similar blocks of any kind are not allowed on the same level. This means that when you copy blocks, you should give our artificial intelligence the unique understanding which block to use on the same level of conversation. Otherwise, the AI wouldn't understand what block to choose to answer your client. And the second rule that is valid for cloning is that only the parent block can be changed. It means that when you copy a block that is cloned just copies all the information from the parent automatically. And if you want to change something, you need to do this in only one place, in the parent. I have already told you about multi-intents, editing answers, voice answers, and SMS. And also, we introduced an ability to connect any webhooks you want, not only Zapier, but any webhooks you want, to your bot. So webhooks are now unlimited. We also launched an option to test a bot while developing, and here you need just to press this icon in the lower right corner of the dialog builder, and then this window opens, and you can test your bot while building. Then Also, we launched actions in broadcasts. It means that you can segment your users into groups, and dependent on an action. So, for example, after you placed your user in a different group, in a segment, you can set up the time after which you can send your new client, your user, a reminder about something, and it also can be SMS, it can be an offer, whatever. Also, we connected WhatsApp Business as a channel since we launched VoIP, and we launched VoIP using two different providers, Vox Implant and Twilio. So now WhatsApp Business is available for you also using Twilio. Yeah, that's it. That's actually major things we launched. And also, I don't have a slide here, but actually we also launched analytics. So you can see some basic analytics in this section. So getting back to my bot, I want to fill the answer, and I want to fill the answer with some consequent fields. So I want to provide my user the information not in one message when he opens the bot, but in several messages. So since my previous intent was about providing information about cards a bank have, then I will type right in here. Let's say we have, so this message will be the first one the user receive as a response to his intent. Then the second message will be about credit cards. Let's say I will provide an information about credit cards, about the standard credit card in the first message. So I don't know, some basic information. It doesn't matter actually now. And then I want to give my user an opportunity to learn more about the standard credit card I have. And actually, you see, we have 5 different icons here, so that your answer can be very, very adjusted to your needs. You see, right now, I used two text windows as a part of an answer. I also can attach an image, a file, for example, the description of my credit cards in a PDF file. I also can create a button that can be just a button with text, or choose one of 2 or I don't know, maybe 3 options as an answer to a question. It can be a button with a link, a button with an answer, and a button with a form, so that when a user presses a button, he will be guided to an answer in the conversation or to a form. And the last icon here is a function. This the first thing you see here is the thing I have already told about. It is SMS, so that if you connect your phone number to a bot and your bot is a voice bot, then you can send SMS to your clients. Also, you can switch your client to an operator. You can assign a segment to your client when he or she gets in a certain group. You can assign a webhook, or you can connect your answer to Zapier. So right now I want just to generate a button, and I want to assign to link let's do even like this, about credit cards, and I want to assign a link to this card, to this button that will lead a client to a website where he or she can find all the description about credit cards. And I will finish my answer here. And then I continue to finish my answer. I will tell my client now about a debit card. And I also add a button with a link. Actually, I should say that this webinar is an educating one, so that's why we will move very slowly in this direction where I explain you how to build a bot. Don't hesitate to ask me questions. In the end, I will answer them. So I press save, and I want to stress that here you can use tags. We have an article in our academy about tags and how to use them, and we explained this topic many times in our previous webinars and in our previous discussions in the community. That's why now I don't want to stop here for simplicity. So I press save and I proceed to yes, and actually I need to move my client to the next block in my conversation. That's why in the end I ask him a question. This question actually leads a client to interact with a bot, and you see that there are two answers to this question, like yes and no. And that's why my next step is to create two intents here. An intent yes, and in intent no. So this will be yes. Let's say yes, I want. You remember that we need to fill in at least five examples of possible answers of a client. And here is no. Say like this. And first, let's go to the positive line of our conversation when a client agrees to issue a card, and then in this case I will explain him. I create an answer again, and I will explain him that to leave a request for a credit card, a client needs to ask some questions. That's why I'm writing him. And also, I want to assign my client who reaches this answer a segment. I want to assign him a segment. Now I don't have segments. That's why now I press save, and I go to the people in the menu, and I create a segment that is called country requests. And let's say I create a segment that is called investment requests. I will need this segment in the future. So I have 2 segments now. I go back to the builder. I go back to this answer, and I go here, and okay, let's wait a bit more. I will proceed, and I parse the form, and actually I call this form order, and I continue collecting data from my user. So I ask him, her about email. Okay. And here, instead of typing, I suggest my client to a button to choose a product he or she wants to order. Okay, then I will ask him, like, let's say, I assume that if my client is interested in more than one card, I give him an opportunity to say about this, and that's why I launch this new variable. And then I also want to suggest my client a bit more services than just a credit card. That's why I ask him about his or her interest in investment opportunities. And here again, I just suggest answers so that the client could save his or her time. I use a shortcode here again to be personal. And I complete the form. And then I use integration. So let's say I want to send this information to my company's email. And then I collect all the data I want to send to my company's email. So just product, system value. So right now I just collected all the shortcodes I entered here. I press save, and actually I am done with this line. But we have a second line of our conversation that is called no. So I proceed with it. Yeah, we have already entered 5 variants for, at least 5 variants for this intent. And I want to create an answer here where I ask a client Okay. The answer to this question is evidently yes or no, but since I have two intents yes or no here, I can just copy them in my field, not to enter all this again. That's why now I just, you know what I do? I just create two intents here, and I write that I want to clone this intent from this intent, and again I create an intent. Okay, I want to clone from it. You see what happened? We see two small letters P and P here. This means that these intents are two parents, and these intents are two clones. And you see, I am allowed to do this cloning because these intents are on different levels in my conversation. That's why everything is completely fine. And I proceed again with two lines. So when my user answers that he or she doesn't want to leave contact details so that investment manager could contact them for personal investment offer, then I say like, okay, you don't what can I do? I provide a small guidance how a user could contact a bot again if he or she has questions. So I'm done with this line. And here, again, I create an answer. And let's say it contacts. And again, I add a form here. I'm trying to collect some more information from my user. So that an investment manager could understand whom he or she is going to contact. I again can suggest some answers. And also, I ask my client, let's say additional, So I collected some basic information about my client, and again I do integration with an email, and again I type all shortcodes I chose here. I press save, and actually I'm done with my conversation. And I strongly advise you to use segments in answers blocks, so in different lines. I wanted to use them here. You see, credit, debit. Do you want to order a credit or debit card? I ask my client here. Then the client answers yes. I'd say like, please fill in, answer the following questions. And I use the segment credit card request here so that my clients goes automatically to a group of people who were interested in card requests, in cards. And here I wanted to use a segment investment request so that I would assign this segment to clients who had an interest to leave contact details so that an investment manager could contact them and suggest a personal investment offer. Actually, I have already built my conversation, so also this is the field where you can test your bot. And then let me proceed further with the updates we have launched. I want to remind you that if you make any change to your bot, you should always press this button, train the bot, so that you will make your bot smarter, since when you press this button, the artificial intelligence starts learning. So since my bot is actually new, I don't have any history here. This is what I want to say about live chat. This is very important reminder, because when I have, as I have already said, sometimes when a bot doesn't understand the users, it doesn't mean that a bot stopped working at some moment. It just means that a bot transferred the user to this window. So don't forget to check this window, don't forget to check for notifications here, because sometimes there are cases when owners of our boards don't see this, don't see users here. They forget about this field and they think that something is broken, but actually not. So I have actually some slides about this here. Yeah, your client is switched to a live chat automatically after 3 unexpected messages. I have already said about this. And yes, as I have already said, when a bot stops responding suddenly with no message, it doesn't mean that something is broken. Just check this window. Then I move to broadcasts, and actually we have also a new and very nice feature here. So what you can do, you can set up an action to any segment or to all of your clients. How you can do this? You can choose a segment. Actually, you can choose a segment here only when there are clients in them. So when there are users in your segment, you can choose a segment here. Then you press set schedule, you see. And you have two options to schedule your broadcast. Either you can choose a date, and this is actually our classic offer. And the new feature is that you can choose an action. So for example, after your user is placed in the segment and in 4 hours, let's say 4 hours, you can send him a message of any type through any connected channel, where you can remind him or her about your services, or where you can send a special offer. I think it's very convenient. And I also want to remind that you can send voice messages if your bot is voice bot. And also you can send SMS is your phone number. If your phone number you bought through Twilio or Vox Implant has this option. I will tell you about this a bit later. And when you do this, you press plan, and then this broadcast will appear here in the scheduled, and you will see some basic analytics about this. So yeah. Let me see, actually, maybe I can show you some analytics from our different bot. No, I think we don't have bots with send broadcast here. Okay, so let's try to do like this. Yeah, since this bot is new, we cannot set a broadcast, and actually this is what I wanted to stress your attention to. When the bot is new and there are no people there, no messages and no boards or no channels are connected to a bot, then you cannot use a broadcast and you cannot schedule this. So go into the next section. People, actually there are no updates here. I have already showed you how to create a segment, and yeah, this is our new section we launched. It is not available for new users, you see, because analytics appears only when your assistant is gaining more than 10 users. But let me show you again for some different boards. So yeah, this is how it looks like. You see, you can just have some basic analytics here. So this is the amount of users that talked to your bot on this day. This is, yes, the amount on users in figures. This is the distribution of users among all channels you have. This is the statistics about broadcasts. Again, you can see here the basic statistics about your chats, how many chats were successful here, yeah. How many chats were successful, I mean they were completed without operator. How many chats were switched to the operator. Switched operator because the user wanted to be switched to operator. And here the last line is the amount of chats that was switched to an operator because the bot didn't understand the user. And this window is for some statistics about chats done by operators. Getting back to my finance bot, I want to go to the last section here, and this is about channels. So I want to remind you that since we connected VoIP, so that your boards can be voice boards now, and we did this through two providers, Twilio and Foxyplant. Now you can connect also WhatsApp Business. So congratulations, WhatsApp Business is available for you on the platform. And also I want to show you a slide here. So if you forget where you can connect WhatsApp Business, we have a screenshot and presentation. And also I want to remind you again about our Odus Academy. We have a very nice article here that is a step-by-step guidance how to connect WhatsApp via Twilio. It's very, very convenient to use it. Getting back to the channels, we launched voice boards. So yeah, here also in the Academy you can find a step-by-step guides how to set up a phone number via Vox Implant, one of our providers, and via Twilio, another provider we work with. And here, an important note here that is actually mentioned in the text is that when you set up your phone number, it is very convenient to choose SMS as an option for the phone number, because then you can send SMS to your clients, and it's again very convenient. You can just include this option in your answer, so that an answer will be sent to your client as a message on his or her phone. What else here? One more very nice thing is that when you set up a web widget, you can choose the color. You can choose the color of the web widget and also landing page bot. Just a small surprise also here. Actually, yeah, one more thing about webhooks, just to stress your attention again. So when you go to webhooks in this section, you can connect not only the peer, but also any webhook you want. Actually, also, the last thing I want to say is that all the information you need about our boards is available on our Odus Academy with videos and free video tutorial. And also, if you want to read something briefly in this presentation, you can find some basic rules how to use text, intents, dialogues with pictures. So feel free to open this presentation. We will share it after the webinar. And we will be happy to answer your questions through support or through messages in our community. Actually, that's all I wanted to say. Let's just go back briefly to my bot and let's see again. I will just make a quick brief overview of the bot. So we built a bot that replied and that provided the information, that provides the information about cards for users. And this bot is aimed to collect contact information for users and leads from users to issue a card. Or if a user doesn't want to issue a card, the bot collects information to suggest an investment offer. And this bot has a personal approach that I introduced in this form. This form has no integration, it just collects a short code so that we know the full name of our user and we can make our conversation more personal. Then in the next answer, I structured my answer in a very convenient way so that the user doesn't receive all information in a single block but in separate messages, in separate blocks. And I introduced also some features that are available in our answers, like buttons with leads. So if a user wants to know more about credit cards, he or she can open the link and learn more. And also I completed this answer with a question to guide my user to the next intent. And I suggested two options in the dialog for users who are interested in a card and for those who are not. And if a user is interested in a card, I suggested to make a short message for him to explain what will happen next and to assign a segment to the user. And also then I placed the form that collected an information from a user. And to make the response of the user easier, I used some variants, some predefined variants, so that the user should not think but just choose an option. And maybe the last note I want to make here is that please don't make your forms too heavy and too long, because sometimes users can just quit them, not providing information to you, and you use a client. And the second line of the conversation, when a user is not interested in a credit card, still suggest a user some another option like personal investment offer. because as a bank or as any business, we don't want to lose a client. And then also, if the user is still not interested, then he or she goes to this line of conversations with answer no and buy. And if he or she is interested in personal investment offers, then again we repeat this thing with answers. We add an answer, we can assign a segment, for example, and then we collect some data again according to the same principles from the user and send them to company's email. So actually, this is how to build the bot. These are new features we introduced. Yes, and actually one more thing the last thing I will show you is exactly multi-intent. So I can create multi-intent in my conversation. And if I want to use a multi-intent in the conversation, it's actually very easily done. I just create a multi-intent and choose two intents, for example, two or more intents from my conversation here, so that I combine meanings from different intents in the same thing, so that when a user comes with a message that has sentences from these two intents together, my artificial intelligence will recognize it. So if you want to change intents included in the multi-intent, you need to press cross here first and then choose intent here again. So I press save and then I just connect my multi-intent to another intent, not to this one, let's say to this one, to another block in my builder, so that if a user starts a dialog with this rather heavy sentence that has several meanings, I will proceed him logically to this intent directly. Actually, that's all I wanted to tell you.